All right, so that is the end of our video, end of the VFT 13, end of the field trip video. But now we've got our Q&A session. So I hope that video sparked maybe some questions for you, all you students, thoughts that you might have or questions that you might have for Dale. So I'm going to pass it off to Katie now. Katie is going to help run the Q&A session, and we'll turn this into a conversation. So take it away, you guys.
Hi, Dale. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Katie. It's a pleasure to see you. It was a great production for the videos. Hopefully, it's going to generate lots of questions from you guys. Looking forward to it.
Perfect. So, students, if you're watching, any questions that you have at all, Dale is ready to answer them. So you can get your teachers maybe to type those in the chat. You can just raise your hand, get your teacher to type those in the chat, and we can get started. Anything at all, I'm sure Dale will be very knowledgeable on.
Mainly heat pumps and dogs.
Okay, dogs. Yes, you are an expert on dogs.
Well, semi.
I would say you're an expert. All right, let's get started. I see there's some already popping in. Perfect.
Awesome.
Ellie Boyle's class is asking, where exactly is your company located?
We are in Bridgetown East. So very close, if you know the area, very close to the Tim Hortons at the highway interchange, just east of Bridgetown.
And that's in Annapolis County for those of you that aren't familiar with the province.
That's right.
And Jonah is asking, why is a heat pump better than what I already have for a heating system, or for heating, I guess you could say?
Well, it's more economical to run than almost anything. If you process your own wood, it's probably less expensive to do the wood, but a fair calculation might have them almost at par. It's way less expensive than oil or electric heat. It's cleaner. So if you burn oil, maybe you get a lot of like smoke and pollution coming out of your chimney, where you don't necessarily get as much of that from your heat pump. You have to be fair and say, well, there's going to be a smokestack at Nova Scotia Power. Although if it's running on solar panels or on wind, then hey, that's really clean. Yeah, there's a lot of advantages over traditional heating systems.
That's awesome. Mr. Stoddart's class is asking, how old were you when you started doing HVAC?
I went to NSCC. It was a vocational school in Halifax at that time, in the class of 89-90. So I would have been, I was born in 69, 79, 89, what, 20, I guess, when I went there. I was out of high school for a couple of years, had tried another trade, and then decided, hey, refrigeration is for me.
That's awesome. And Patrick Ruther's class is asking, does it take, I think they're asking, how long does it take to charge a van from empty to full? So your electric van that you showed us, how long would that take?
Depends on the charger you're plugged into. So if I plug in at home with my really simple one, just plugs in the wall, I will get like 1 kilowatt an hour. And I need to put in 68 kilowatts if the battery's empty. So that's a long time. If I stop at, let's say, Glooscap Landing, Hantsport, and go on the Flow fast charger, then I could go from almost empty to almost full in like an hour and 10 minutes. So that one's like super fast. The ones we have at the office, they are 10 kilowatt. So typically I plug in for a couple hours. I can get like 75 kilometers of range in 3 hours.
Wow, that's really cool.
And I got an update too on the EV trail. So we leased, this week, we leased a Ford Lightning. So I haven't had a personal vehicle for quite a while. My Volvo died. So I made that big jump. So that one has got like way more range than the van. And it's way more efficient, is interesting. The van uses like 37 to 40 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. And the Lightning is looking like 18 to 24. So it's almost twice as efficient. which is really neat. And other electric vehicles that we did do some test drives on, like some of the small ones, like a Volvo we took for a test drive, I think that was using like 14 kilowatt hours per 100, which is like really low.
Oh, wow. I never would have guessed like different vehicles and how they can be more efficient than others. I just assumed that they were all the same. That was my assumption.
Oh yeah. Well, remember the van, like it's big, it's high, it's catching lots of wind, it's heavy, all of that, right?
Yes, that makes such a big difference too. If you think about weight, yeah, that totally makes a big difference. Yeah. All right, let's go back to our questions. You've got a lot of them, which is awesome. So everybody's interested.
Thanks, guys.
Scott Pope students would like to know, how does the heat pump work and how much money can you save using heat pumps?
How does it work? Like technically, how does it make the heat? Well, it uses the refrigeration cycle. So picture your refrigerator at home, or if you have a window air conditioner. So it gathers heat. So like that window air conditioner will gather heat from inside your house, put it in the refrigerant. And then if you go outside and feel the outside of that air conditioner or the back of your fridge, it'll be warm. So it's a heat transfer device, and it uses refrigerant and a compressor to transfer that heat from the outside air into the refrigerant and then to the inside air. Yeah. A really cool example of that is with refrigerant is lock deicer, or even like isopropyl alcohol. If you put it on your hand and it evaporates, it makes your hand cold. So it's transferring the heat from your hand into the alcohol or the lock deicer. Now that evaporates and goes to the atmosphere. But with refrigerant and a heat pump, you can't allow it to evaporate. You have to recycle it. So that's where the compressor comes in and the closed circuit. So it's it uses the chemical and it evaporates, gathers the heat, and then you move it around to the other side of the system. I hope that's clear. It's very technical. And the savings of money. If you're running electric baseboard heaters to heat your house, then you could save 60 to 70% on your heating costs. A typical bungalow that's burning oil, all things being equal, you're going to cut your heating costs by at least half. So a lot of times in a bungalow with oil prices today, I bet you're going to save, with a single heat pump install, you're going to probably save $1,500 a year very easily. And then don't forget to turn the lights out.
Oh, yes. That's
Yes.
a good message. Yes. But $1,500, that's a lot of money.
It's
like
a lot. It's a 3-year payback. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, and that's payments that you can put towards the heat pump, and you're going to save in the long run. You're going to save in the long run as well.
Yeah.
Which is
or like groceries, right? That might be almost a full cart of groceries, $1,500. No laughs, no comment. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Jonah.
All right, let's keep going with your questions. We have Olivia that wants to know, what is your favorite part about your job?
Thanks, Olivia. Great question. My favorite part is going to someone's house and having a meeting with them and a consultation and educating them on a heat pump because they're considering buying one, installing one. So that's the favorite part. You go into someone's house, you're helping them. You're going to change their life, because think about that $1,500. So I go in and yeah. They give us tea. They give us lots of compliments. It's a fantastic part of the business, that personal dynamic.
Awesome. And then we also have Linda Boisvord's class asking, how long does it take to get your red seal? So from start to finish, I think is what they're wondering.
Including going to school. So it's a 1 year or 2 year at school, and then you're going to spend 3 to 4 years in the field getting all your hours.
Perfect. And Cheryl Corbin students are asking, what are the most calls you have had in one day?
Cheryl Corbin's class. Hi, guys. I hope you're having a good morning. The most calls in one day, when I was in a truck myself and operating as a technician, I bet 12 to 14. That's when I was working in the Caribbean as a technician, and it was like crazy busy. We don't have that schedule here in the Valley. If you were in Halifax, maybe you might have that kind of schedule.
That could be a lot, depending on where you're located. That could be a lot.
It's a lot of fun if you're, you've got your education and you're good at what you do and you're efficient. It's you kind of get a kick out of it because you're in and out fast. If your brain is working good and you're a good technician, then you're fixing stuff fast, and people love that. Again, whether you're the heat pump tech or the maintenance guy or the working in the kitchen on a fridge or whatever, people love you because you fix their problem. So it's I found that part of it as well very satisfying. You're the super tech. I can fix anything.
That's exciting, and that's so nice that when you have people that are actually excited to see you when you actually like enter their home. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
All right, we have a couple students that are asking, and they really want to know, what's the most interesting part of your job?
Interesting. Wow, good question. I guess the technical aspects of the job. We do a lot more technical evaluation now with Efficiency Nova Scotia and the home warming program, where we don't just go into a house now and kind of take a guess and go, well, this heat pump's gonna, do most of your heat, have a good day. Thanks for the business. With rebate programs, we have to evaluate a house from a very technical perspective. So that's really interesting to learn more about the science of home energy modeling. And you got to use a specific piece of software to do that. One that we bought, and also one from Natural Resources Canada. And when that's done, basically, then you can see, okay, this is exactly what the house needs for heat. And then you try to match a heat pump system to that, or maybe a couple systems, and add some baseboard heaters as well as supplementation. So very interesting to work with Efficiency and Natural Resources on that program.
Awesome. That's a great answer.
Thank you.
All right, back to our questions. I see we have quite a few more. Oh, here's a really good one. This is from Elliot. Do you think an EV ban is better for the environment than gas when you consider the mining of lithium?
Elliot, did I get that right?
Yes.
Elliot, thanks for the question. That's a phenomenal question. And I really can't answer that. There's a lot of opinions out there on EVs and batteries and the impact of mining, extracting the chemicals. I'm not fully informed on it. So I guess my stance on it, like I said in the video, with Nova Scotia Power being responsible to green their grid, there's bigger players here that are working on these issues with our federal government, with federal governments in other countries. So I'm kind of trusting those guys to work it out. An EV is a business for Ford. So can I fully trust Ford? No, I can't. Can I fully trust my federal government? I hope so, but they're just humans. So these are the things that I think about when I choose an EV over gas. I know, bottom line, like that Lightning now, the Ford Transit E-Van, I've got 10,000 kilometers on that van yet. That's what's on the odometer. It's brand new, but I got 10,000 on it already. I haven't put one bit of gas in it, not one drop of gas. So that has got to be a win for the environment. Yeah, I've put the charging cord on it, to the tune of 30% of what the gas would have done. But I will encourage you, Elliot, and all of you guys, you can reach out to one of our partners at NSCC. So NSCC has a building climate action program that they offer, and they've studied this in depth. And I would encourage you to reach out to those guys, because I know they can answer that question better than me. But it is a great question. And when you're looking for the answers, don't believe everything that's on social media, right? My lightning hasn't caught on fire yet. My house didn't burn down.
Yeah. And my apologies. I tried to group both those questions together. Mr. Stoddard's class was asking a similar question, and Elliot was also trying to ask a very similar question. So I tried to group both of those together. So I apologize.
It's a great question. Yeah. And there's definitely high impact on the mining, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. And Victoria Billiard's class is asking, how long does it take to install a heat pump? I'm thinking like from start to finish, they're wondering.
Oh, the fastest would be like 4 hours, like a single heat pump in someone's house. Yeah, 4 hours. Average is probably about 6.5 hours.
Awesome. And Avery is wondering, can you tell us about your favorite house visit you've made?
Oh, Avery, that's a good question. There's a lot of them, man. Let's see, favorite most, you know what? I had one this morning, and it wasn't a house visit. It was a phone call. So an estimate request. And it's about that personal dynamic. So I call this lady, and she's, oh, I thought you were going to call sooner. It's 2 weeks have passed. And I'm apologetic. Oh, it's, we're so busy. And she says, well, I think we might have already made our decision. We had someone give an estimate yesterday. So I said, okay, that's fine. I can give you some more info on the phone or whatever. And lo and behold, like 40 minutes later, we're still talking. And then she's like, you know what? You taught me so much. I've just learned so much just by having a phone call with you. And I think I might reconsider. I'm going to have you guys come and you can visit and give me your estimate too. So just that appreciation in her voice that she actually came away learning stuff. But there's like, Avery, there's 1,000 of them. They're, some of the neatest ones, like we're outside working on the outdoor unit in Yarmouth County, and there's a knock on the window, and there's the homeowner, and she slides the window up and sticks 2 cups of coffee out the window. Like, where does that happen? Right? It's just so fun.
That's awesome and so nice. And where else would you have a job like that where somebody actually does that? There's probably not that many jobs.
It should be, but there's not.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
All right. Our next question, Cheryl Corbin's class is wondering, how long does a heat pump last?
Well, that's like a question. How long does a pair of socks last? It's a great question. If you go out and run around the yard without your sneakers on, I know nobody does that, right, Athena? Then they might last like 4 months. If you don't do that, I might have a couple pairs of socks that are like 12 years old. Can you believe it? So anyways, but back to heat pumps, away from socks. 3 years for the really budget ones, like the no-name ones. There's ones down in Yarmouth that were called Yeti. I don't know where they come from. They're like 3 years. That's it. It's junk. We've got Fujitsus out there that we're working on that are like 17 years old. So those are like ductless wall mount heat pumps. They can last a really long time. Central heat pumps, 35 years sometimes for like the early carrier ones. We still see the odd one out there. So I would say the average on a central is probably 18 years. The average on a ductless is probably 10.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. You like my sock story?
I do like the sock story, and I love the analogy when I think about it. Love that analogy. We have a student that's asking, what does a heat pump look like?
What does it look like? Well, if I was techie, I could whip up a picture right now for you, but I'm not. Well, here's the indoor unit. I'll whip my screen around here. There's an indoor unit. Is that angle good?
Yeah, I think most of us can probably see that.
Yeah. So that's the indoor unit. And yeah, if you drive around, like probably 60% of the houses in Nova Scotia have a heat pump hanging on the outside of them. Sometimes it's in the back, you can't see it, but it's that little white box on the side of the house.
Awesome.
I hope that helps.
Well, I think that will help. And I think the fact that the students actually got to see it, they can visualize that, which is great. And we already answered how long it takes to install a heat pump. So that's a great question. And then Scott Pope's class is wondering, do heat pumps cause moisture?
Do they cause moisture? That's a fantastic question. So the moisture, they can collect moisture out of the air when they're in air conditioning mode or dehumidification mode. So I guess technically they cause it. So they're supposed to like gather that, and then it goes outside down the drain pipe and drips outside. If you run it really cold, like, you know, when it's cold outside and your windows sweat, so they could cause something like that, like on the cabinet of the indoor unit, some moisture could collect there. They could cause that. They don't add moisture to a space. So if you have one running in your house, it's not like it's going to put more moisture in the air or anywhere else.
That's a great answer.
Thank you.
Emily Wilson's class has a student that would like to know, how much did it cost? Or I think if there was a cost associated for you to trademark your brand name.
Oh, I didn't trademark it. So Fujitsu is the brand that we represent. So that would be trademarked by the Fujitsu company. Comeau Refrigeration Limited is not trademarked. You can't trademark like a personal name. So I couldn't trademark Comeau. But if I had a company previously that was called, years and years ago, was called Frigidex. So a very unique word. I could have trademarked that, but like Mr. Campbell, you know, you couldn't trademark Jonah Campbell.
Right.
But if you spelled his name with like a really unique font or colors or style, that could be trademarked. But we're limited, right? So it's Comeau Limited. So when you make a limited company, you pay lawyers to do stuff and put that LTD on the end or INC. And that is like, it just depends on how complicated it is. It could be $1,200 to probably $5,000 to kind of make a limited company.
Right. Interesting. So there is a process with that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And we have Sophia that's asking, how many calls do you receive in a day?
Sophia, Terry works in the office. He's our office manager. And yeah, sometimes his eyes spin around in his head. He gets so many phone calls. It's when it's busy, I bet he could get 50 phone calls in a day and probably just as many emails. And then if you think, okay, if there's 8 of us running around with our cell phones and the office phone and everything, it's like, I mean, you're talking hundreds of phone calls and emails every day. It is wild how busy it is.
That's great, though.
It is. You have to be busy to.
You have to be busy. Yeah, exactly. You have to be busy to have your business.
All that, yeah.
We have a student who's wondering from Emily Wilson's class, again, what's the longest time it took you to install a heat pump?
The longest time, well, maybe 3 or 4 days. Oh no, like a single ductless unit, maybe a day and a half. If it's a central unit with all the ductwork, then it could be like 3 days. We did a project one time, condominiums in Bedford, Nova Scotia. And so it was 2 condominium towers. It was 78 condos. And that project was like 16 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It was, yeah.
And a big project. That's a big project.
It was, yeah. It was like it was one of a kind. That was in 2010, I think, or 11. So at that time, heat pumps didn't have a lot of representation in the market. And especially applying them to like a condo application or an apartment application, it wasn't something that was happening too much. So we were kind of a little bit on the cutting edge with that one. Had some great partners to do it with and great employees. And overall, the project was a fantastic success. So that's right down Bedford behind. I think you can kind of look over to the Sobeys on Bedford Basin from the towers. It was done by Provident Developments, was a developer, and the development is called Dockside Condominiums. So lovely homes, really, really neat, fun project, technical application and design. And we did a few things differently there to, from an engineering perspective to get things to fit in and look good and work well. So yeah, it was a really satisfying project.
Very cool. Mr. Stoddard's class is wondering, how much did your EV van cost?
Wow. That van, the sticker on that, I think was $85,000. And then there was a couple options that I put on it because I wanted a heavy duty floor in the back and some shelving and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a lot of cash. So we financed it, of course. We put some money down and then financed the rest with Ford Motor Credit. And we got a rebate from the federal government. So thanks to those guys for giving us $10,000 back. It's a light commercial rebate, where a typical passenger vehicle in Nova Scotia, I think it's $5,000 federal. So this was $10,000. So that helped a lot. And then putting the chargers in too through, again, from the federal government through the EV Zip program and the Clean Foundation, Clean Nova Scotia. We received a kickback when we put the chargers in of about $9,200. So that program, they would cover a maximum of 50% of the cost to put chargers in. So we put 2 chargers in, had to upgrade our electrical, do a bunch of stuff in the building to bring it to code. So that was a great help as well.
Awesome. Oh, and Mr. Stoddard's class is also wondering, which brand of heat pump is the best? So I think they're thinking like, what's the best quality you could find for a heat pump?
For a brand, I do Fujitsu, so of course I'm going to say Fujitsu, right? It is a good product. Fujitsu, Mitsubishi, and Daikin, they are kind of like the top 3. And then you got to, kind of answer the question like, okay, what does it mean to be the best? What is that criteria? So is that like price? Well, you always got to pay more for something that's better. I think like heating performance at low temperature is a main criteria, and the duration of the warranty is another main evaluation criteria. So based on those 2 things, Fujitsu would be the leader. Mitsubishi is going to be second in heating, but the warranty not as good. And then Daikin is taking that second spot for warranty, but it doesn't have the heating performance of the Mitsubishi. And then there's a couple other brands out there too that are kind of just below those levels.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So I guess it depends on where it sits. Like you said, like there's different standards too. It depends on what you're looking at as well, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And Chandela is wondering, what qualities are you looking for in someone when you were hiring?
Oh, that's a wonderful question, Chandel. Thank you. I guess number 1 is going to be your attitude. So if you're bringing a really positive attitude, you have a reasonable level of confidence, you can conduct yourself in a really respectful way, you're switched on, you're interested in what's going on. Those are really important things. If you're not bringing any skills, it matters, but it's not a deal breaker. We can be taught just about anything. Back to bringing that nice personality and that attitude, it's a lot harder to teach someone to have a good attitude or help them understand how to improve personally. The skills, how to use tools, really important. Bring those skills. If you're thinking about having a trades career, then get busy today figuring out how tools work, how things are put together. building science, all of those things, because they'll go a long way. You know, we were doing a job the other day and gluing some pipe together, some drain pipe, and the technician used the wrong glue. And I'm thinking, you know, like I know so many things because I've been at it a long time. So there's 3 or 4 different glues for different types of plastic. And, you know, I didn't give him a bad time about it, but it made me think, like, you know, when you're at it for, like I said, I got in at 89, 90. So that's a lot of years to learn a lot of things. And there's a massive number of things to learn. So get at it as fast as you can if you're going to get into the trades and start to pump your brain full of trade information, and pay attention to the things that are going on around you, in the trades and in sciences and in building. So attitude, teachability, and then if you can get some technical skills, that's awesome. Those are the key things.
Awesome. That's a great answer.
Thank you.
Linda's class would like to know, in the last 2 years, how many heat pumps did you install?
Probably 300, something like that, in 2 years, I would say. Probably did maybe 500 maintenances, service calls, fixing heat pumps. Oh, I don't even know. Maybe jumpins. It's hundreds and hundreds. You know, you think about if there's four trucks going and 4 employees every day. You know, if you have an average of, say, 3 either maintenance or service calls or installs a day, so 3 a day, 4 employees, that's 12 a day, times how many working days are there in a year? That's a lot.
Awesome. Mr. Stoddage's class said, or would like to know, what about this job made you want to get into the trade?
Going back to the beginning, what about this job, or maybe what about this field? Like, it was very technical. So whether it's refrigeration or heat pumps or air conditioning or any of that, it's really technical, really challenging. So that's kept me in it. I guess that attracted me a little bit in the beginning, and that's definitely kept me in the trade through all the years.
And they have a follow-up question, Mr. Stoddage's class. What is most frustrating?
Inefficiencies. And we're big on that. We're big on having systems that that we can follow, like a checklist, or, you know, an appointment that has all your information built into it, so you know what you're going to do. So inefficiencies, they create really costly mistakes. They waste resources. They waste power and time and gasoline. So yeah, that's the most frustrating, is the inefficiencies. And that can be because someone's made a mistake. It could be because they didn't read their assignment. It could be because something at home is not going very good and our mental capacity is reduced, right? That's a reality, right? That's a reality at work, even at school. I mean, you guys go to school every day. You can't always pay attention because, you know, maybe maybe your dog is sick. And if your dog's sick, you can't pay attention at school. So all these things, right? So working with people to limit the inefficiencies and be kind and consider all the scenarios that can create those inefficiencies.
Awesome. And you're right, though, we are all human, and, you know, but sometimes there's just a point where we just can't, you know, we're just beyond capacity in some ways. All right. Emily Wilson's class is wondering, when did your business start?
It started in 2008 in Annapolis Royal.
That's a long time.
It is. We've got some years in now. Yeah,
years in.
The time flies.
And when you're busy, of course, time would fly.
Oh yeah.
And our last question of the day, I'm going to say I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right, so I apologize in advance. I believe it's Jamima. Who is one person who is an inspiration to you? I love that question.
Jemima, thanks for the question. That's a phenomenal question. An inspiration for me. Wow. You know, I haven't taken a lot of inspiration from people over the years. I guess I get it in small moments from people. You know, like the phone call, the experience with the phone call I was recounting earlier. And so even in that inspires me, because when I reached out to the individual and took the time, it inspires me, the reaction that I got, you know, her genuine appreciation, that inspires me. So we get that all the time, or I shouldn't say we, I get that all the time from that type of interchange. And then other people, like bigger people that would inspire me. You know, I mean, I think about my mom and dad, like my dad, definitely, right? You know, just steady Eddie, right? You know, when I had to say goodbye to him and I told him, "You did a good job." And he was like, "I just did what I was supposed to do." Right? Like that's really inspirational. So you take that back and go, "Okay, well, what are we supposed to do?" Right? We're, you know, supposed to be good and kind and loving and be a good employer, be a good kid, be a good mom and dad and all that stuff, right? So it's you know, that's definitely a strong one for me. Who else inspires me? Hmm. People. So we're in green schools, so environmentalism, you know, is high on the list here. So people that decide to make a difference, even in small ways. We've got a lot of work to do, you know, to try to save this planet and make it a place where we can live for future generations. So when you see, especially younger people, take an initiative, whether it's an invention or, you know, they decide, okay, I'm going to go work for Efficiency Nova Scotia in a climate action program, and then they're killing it, right? Like they're giving 110%, they're giving all their energy. And, you know, I will see that like in social media, because I'll see it on LinkedIn or another platform where it's like, oh my goodness, look at this person, like the impact they're having and the work they're doing. So that's really inspirational for me as well, to see youth connect, right? To be switched on and connect and go, doesn't matter how big the problem is, I can do this. You know, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a difference. So that's very inspirational to me.
Awesome. We had a few classes that had to leave, but
Oh no.
yeah, that's okay. I think they all really enjoyed it. I'm seeing some of these messages. They all really enjoyed it, Dale. And those questions were amazing. All of them were amazing.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and so many questions. That was awesome. And Jonah was actually our producer for this video, so I can't take any of the credit. I just did the fun part and talked to Dale and visited Dale. It was Jonah that actually did all of the video editing and putting that together and taking all of that footage.
It's a nice job.
It was a pleasure. Lots of great footage, lots of great jokes. Love the candor and the you know, just the commentary and everything. I think you answered the questions so well, right? In like just taking those hard questions and making them interesting and fun for the students as well. So I think you're a really talented speaker. Very yeah, just great to listen to. So thank you so much, Dale. It was really, really a pleasure.
Oh, that's kind, Jonah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, yeah, take it away, Katie.
Sorry, I'm just going to say, Dale, you can tell when you speak, you're passionate about what you do. It just comes through your voice. You can just tell that you love to do it.
I do. Thank you. Yeah, it's important, right? It's fun, but it's also important. And yeah, I'll just say it again, like that personal relationship with the clients is so cool. And it took me like when you're younger, for me, my personality, I didn't really, it wasn't important to me. Maybe because of me, or maybe just because of my youth, I don't know. So it's something I've learned over the years. And then I actually it really feeds me now. It's, you know, I'm not I'm not like a social extrovert. I don't need that stuff in my, my personal life. I don't seek a lot of connections with people. But at work, like those interchanges they're really important.
Absolutely. Well, I think all the schools, everyone's all cleared out now. So that's the end of the virtual field trip.